Nice to see everybody and welcome. I'm here with Dr. Agnes Furst, and we're excited about the topic, empathy and active listening in public service. As Talia mentioned, we're diving into that focus at your Washington and in Washington State, and we really need to understand empathy and active listening to better serve our customers. It's really crucial. Last month, like Talia was saying, we heard from Nikki and Megan from DOT. And they talked about going the extra mile and driving better outcomes and the difference between customer service and hospitality. We even watched some video clips on Unstoppable Hospitality, which is an awesome book by by Will Guidara. Sorry, doctor. He's actually a restaurateur. And this month, we're going to continue the discussion on how to better serve our customers with empathy and active listening. And I did some research, and there's a famous hotelier. His name is Ian Schrager, and he says service is the new luxury nowadays. So just a little bit about us. I'm Cindy Medlin. I'm the Continuous Improvement Assistant Administrator here at DOL. And I've been in this current role for about 4 years. And I've been at DOL for 17 years in various roles in internal audit and quality assurance in different roles, even in IT. I really am passionate about problem solving and helping our divisions map their processes and become more efficient and effective. And I'll let Agnes talk about her background.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you all, actually. I'm Agnes Furst, Employee Learning and Development Manager at the Department of Licensing. I've been in this role for a little longer than 2 years, and most of my career I was outside of state government as a consultant, mostly for corporations. I also was a community college instructor, and in my current role, I am mostly focused on agency-wide training programs specifically for supervisors and for future leaders. So, and at every level, it's all about communication, obviously, and listening and empathy.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda, what we'll be talking about today, what empathy is and what empathy isn't, and empathy versus sympathy. And we'll take a look at an empathy map that was provided by DOL from customer experience working with our customer contact team. And then we'll talk about active listening and then some key takeaways. And Agnes is going to help me monitor the chat. So what is empathy? If you could type in the chat, what do you think empathy is? I was an active listener.
Feeling with somebody relating to feelings. I'll do it, Cindy. No worries.
Okay.
Ability to feel what the other person is feeling, understanding how they feel, ability to see and feel what others are putting yourself in their shoes, relating to another person with compassion and understanding, seeing things from another perspective, try and understand how someone is feeling. Empathy is feeling with rather than feeling for. That's a good one. Understand and share feeling of others, plus having had that of a similar experience yourself. Yeah, we are on the right track there.
Oh, Merriam-Webster defines empathy as the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another. Essentially walking a mile in someone's shoes. Empathy means understanding what someone else is feeling and experiencing from their perspective, their point of view, putting yourself in their shoes, recognizing and acknowledging their thoughts and emotions, even if you don't feel the same way yourself. That's key. And it's a little bit more than that. As I was doing research on this, I found out there's 3 types of empathy. There is the cognitive empathy that we just talked about, putting yourself in someone's shoes. And then there's this concept of emotional empathy that this picture here is like feeling the same feeling that someone's feeling. And that isn't necessarily always ideal, especially if they're escalated and upset. And what we want to strive for is compassionate empathy, feeling concern and move to help. And this type of empathy helps us to connect better with our customers. So, to better understand what empathy is, we want to watch this short video on what it isn't. Okay. See.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
All right. So I'm just curious. Those who didn't see the video, could you hear the video though? Okay, so some people could see and hear, others could hear, others could see. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, a lot of people could see and hear it. That's good. All right. Back to you, Cindy. Cindy, you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So I know sometimes it can be kind of confusing with empathy and sympathy, and kind of to know the difference with compassionate empathy. So here's a slide for future reference and the differences. And if you get confused. Empathy is really, I'm sorry you're going through this, but like the video says, sympathy feels pity and fuels disconnection. And compassion, empathies, I want to help you through this. And at DOL, we actually have our own definition of empathy aligning with compassionate empathy. And I won't really read the slide, but just to highlight it is understanding the emotions, and to show empathy is to relate to what the person's feeling and show compassion, even if you don't understand or agree with the situation that caused the emotion. And that's, can, really help us to understand and build connection.
So there's
we
this
have,
story. Let me jump in here to add.
mhm.
There's a story from I think it's from Buddhism, where Buddha tells that story that you're walking on the road and you see somebody who is lying under a huge boulder that just fell from the nearby mountain. And then that person is weighed down by that boulder and can't breathe. If you feel empathy, feel what they feel, then you can't breathe either. So that's why the simple emotional empathy is not very helpful, because you're just as helpless as that person is. And that's how compassionate empathy can be different, because compassionate empathy, we understand what it feels like when you can't breathe, but we can also help the person get out of that situation better.
That's excellent. So I think we have a poll. I'll hand it over to you, Teresa.
Okay, actually, she stepped away for a second, so I'm going to go ahead and launch this. Is everyone able to see it? All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so empathy versus sympathy. Which response demonstrates empathy? Okay, so let's just look at this as the scenario. Maybe somebody has tried calling several times. They're getting sent to a bunch of different places. They're frustrated. They're not getting the answers they need, and they're just like, upset out the gate. What would be your response to a person that may take their anger out on you because of possibly an unorganized process and the you know, the way they have to get to whoever it is they're trying to call? Maybe they got to talk to several people.
Teresa, people can't see the poll.
Oh, darn it. What? It looks like I'm launching. Nobody can see it at all?
The slides that says, let's take a poll. You see that? Oh,
There
now
it is.
there we go. There it is.
I had to relaunch it. Okay.
So can you read the story behind it again, please?
Yeah, so just imagine, you're at a call center in one of our great agencies, and the person you get, they're angry out the gate, and they're venting, and they're telling you how frustrated they are because the call tree sent them to 5 million different sections, and they're not getting their answer. Someone keeps sending them over here, but then that's not the right place, and they got to go over here, and they're just angry. Yeah, it looks pretty what do we have? 88% folks are saying, I'm sorry, this has been so frustrating. Let's slow down so I can understand what's most important to you right now. A few people said, I know exactly how you feel. This happens to everyone. A few more people said, I understand why you're upset. This process is really unfair. But the bulk of people are going with that middle one. Do you have anything that you'd like to, as far as the other two responses, Cindy and Agnes, anything you might want to touch on with
Yeah.
those other ones?
Yeah, the answer is B, because A and C can unintentionally escalate and over-identify.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing, but I would love to hear more about the over-identify piece, if you can expand on that a bit.
Well, I think we're going to take a look at empathy mapping and how that can help us. So, an empathy mapping is a tool in human-centered design that we use to that works great with projects and process improvements. No matter what you're working on, empathy mapping is a powerful tool, so we can better understand our customers and what's important to them and actually build empathy. By starting with empathy mapping, we have here, we draw a big X and then we put these topics, and we can see what our customers are thinking, feeling, seeing, saying, and doing. And then we can help them with what the pain points are and how we can move them forward and help them with gains. It's a great way to see what's getting in their way. When you understand and empathize, you can build better knowledge so that we can build and improve our services, our processes, and products for our customers. When you're creating an empathy map, it's really important to deeply understand the customer and to gather and use actual data. This could be talking with customers, interviewing teams that support the customers, making observation and reading customer feedback. It's important to really be specific and ask deep probing questions to get to exactly what the customer is feeling. And we'll, using a feelings wheel, I have an example of that will help us to understand and build empathy. We have a real live example here from the DOL Contact Center that I'll show you in a couple slides. And we also, a third way to get information is, if you don't have direct access to the customers or the teams, is, like I was saying, to create feedback, surveys, and customer comments. So let's take a look at a feelings wheel. This is a great tool. Has anybody seen this before? Familiar with this? Let's see anything in the chat.
Oh, you're getting a lot of thumbs up and hearts.
Good. This is great, because we really, when we think about it, just even for self-reflection, it's like I'm feeling it somewhere in the middle, right? But then if I continue to explore and use empathy, I start to go outside of the circle, right, and get more specific instead of expanding out. So instead of I'm frustrated, I'm feeling a little skeptical, I'm feeling a little distant, or, different. It's a little bit different than mad. So our customer contact team and customer experience team work together at DOL to build this awesome customer empathy map. This is particular about a customer that their license has been suspended because of a DUI. And they've been calling the customer service center and they've been transferred, and they're frustrated. So that's some of the things they're thinking and feeling is, they're feeling stressed. They're unsure how they're going to drive and provide for their family. They're feeling, feeling maybe guilt and shame. What are they seeing? They're entering into all this legal jargon. They're not sure what exactly they're supposed to do with the ignition interlock requirements, what that means. They're saying, "Hey, I'm confused. I don't understand," and they're calling DOL and going to the website and they can't find what they're needing. So, and they're hearing, maybe from friends that are being supportive, or maybe they're hearing that they're in trouble at work, and so this is a great tool. And we, to get this information, we really want to ask good questions and use active listening and empathy. In the bottom here, we have, the pain and the gain. So, they can't really afford an ignition interlock device, and they're not able to call the contact center because they're at work. And then what they can get out of this, if they get the help that they need, is that they'll get the ignition interlock device, and they can continue to drive. So this is, an opportunity for us to understand exactly what the customer is feeling and build more empathy. You can type in the chat. What else do you think this customer might be thinking, feeling, hearing, or seeing? Is there any, okay. Mm, shame. Yeah. Okay, I'm not seeing a whole lot of other things coming in the chat. Do you, Agnes?
There's they are
Hopeless,
just now coming
overwhelmed?
in, just now coming
Okay,
in.
great. Alone, yeah. Embarrassed.
Shame, overwhelmed, alone, hopeless, embarrassed, multiple time. Don't know how to navigate this environment. That's I don't know if it's for the chat or for the how they feel. So yeah, a little bit lost, I guess. Frustrated. Yes, absolutely. Angry with
Mm,
self. Yeah, how could I be in that
mm,
situation?
mm-hmm,
Scared.
mm-hmm.
Whole bunch of
It's
very
good
good
to
emotions.
understand this
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we can, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Agnes. Yeah.
No, no, no. I'm just reading them out. I was in a conversation with somebody else about the previous answers about for empathy versus sympathy, and it's actually worth mentioning that that phrase I'm sorry you feel that way. It's kind of the situation that can very easily backfire. It's said with good intentions, but it's kind of overused these days, and people get a little apprehensive when they hear something like that because on how it sounds on the other end is, yeah, this sounds like a you problem, and we with all good intentions we say good, yeah, tone and follow up has a lot to do with that. You're absolutely right. So it's not the words, it's basically impact versus intent.
So we have an opportunity here to reflect. Here's a customer that has been calling and is frustrated and anxious. They've been transferred. They don't really understand process, and they're raising their voice. So what do you think this? Oh, sorry. What might this customer be feeling in the moment here? Let me see. I'm going to touch it. What emotions might this customer be experiencing? Type in the chat.
It's frustration, absolutely. Overwhelmed, angry, frustrated. If you've ever had a miserable toddler on your knees while you're trying to get something done on the phone, not feeling heard because they were transferred so many times, overstimulated, absolutely. Angry, tired, frustrated, no sleep with toddler, isn't happy now. Yeah. Can you hear her now? Yeah, Cindy's muted again, but she's not. So we can hear her. Awesome. Stress from thinking it would take a few minutes, and now it's 20 minutes into the whole thing with no solutions. And toddler is getting really, really anxious. Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, now you're muted, Cindy. Despair. Yeah, that's a good word. I love that. Despair.
So also, what might you be feeling in the moment?
Tense, nervous, annoyed. So if you're trying to provide any kind of help, I hope I have empathy. Yeah. Wondering if if anyone she's spoken to is trained or can really help her. This whole thing is for now. Yeah. Miserable. What can I do to help her out? Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's happy in a situation like this. That's for sure.
Right.
Your feeling or empathy will also relate to your personal experience with children.
Mm.
Yeah, I would react differently if I had never had a crying baby on my lap. Okay. You're so right, Will. But we all know somebody who has had a crying baby on their lap, so we can fall back on that. Helpless. Yeah, some people may feel stressed and anxious, especially if their call center has quotas or limited time they are that they have for each call. Yeah, all kinds of pressure. Yes, yes, yes.
We have another example. And this person has actually been hung up on, and they have a very similar problem than the previous person. So, I mean, sometimes it's hard to say, okay, this is just the same problem and not separate the people. So, what assumptions is it easy to make without really realizing it?
Okay, here's a longer one. I have experienced a sense of irritation from others who are very experienced, but don't realize that one is not where they are in terms of familiarity. It occurs in my work situation too. There was no specific training for my role and lacking personal experience in the areas. Agency managers. I'm left feeling afraid to reach out for more info, helpless and resentful. I try to ensure that I ask for of their previous knowledge experience before I respond. Thank you for that. And then desperate and hopeless once again.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about the icebreaker that we did, and how can are you being heard or not? Right? My team deals with a lot of seniors and they get frustrated with technology, chatbots. Oh, yes. They just want help from a human and to be heard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why do we think this matters in government, in state government? We've discussed different things here, and we've done some reflecting and some empathy mapping. Um, what will you do differently moving forward after thinking about some of these things? Yes, we are
We
stewards
are
of
still
public funds, and yeah.
yeah, we are still talking about getting help from a machine versus from a human. Uh, yeah, that's crucial and helps people
Mhm.
feel government is for them versus an obstacle. Yeah, we are stewards of public
Mm.
funds and the public's trust. Yeah. So we don't want to be a problem, we want to be a solution.
Exactly.
But we also want to be perceived as such, not just, we know that we can provide solutions, but it doesn't kind of register on the other end. I'll
What do we
consider
think are
our
some of the
processes. Yeah, go ahead, Cindy. Sorry.
oh, no worries. What do we think are some of the benefits of empathy and government?
Yeah, there's also a good one about I don't deal directly with the public, but I deal with policy, and we need to consider people when we create policy. Building trust, open our minds to new solutions, help people feel government is for them. Yeah, once again. Create more meaning for ourselves in our work. Yeah, that's also a very good point. We feel more satisfaction, more accomplishment in our work if we are able to handle these situations better because we connect on a personal level. We are in government because we want to help. That's why it's called public service.
That's
De-escalate
right.
situations.
Mm-hmm.
We need to remember we all have lives outside of a specific moment, and so it's not enough just to handle the professional problem. It's also there's a human side of every story as well.
That's a great point. It helps us to better understand what they're needing and build stronger relationships
Yes.
and reduce complaints and escalations.
Yes.
And saves time by getting to the root of the issues faster and increases cooperation with the customer.
I know from experience in healthcare that most of the time people are not filing complaints because somebody made a mistake. They're filing complaints because they couldn't find any understanding on the other end. So that's mostly the reason why people are frustrated. It's not so much about, the solution was not good enough, somebody messed up something. Yeah, that's human. But it's the empathy part that's missing, and that's why people get really angry.
So it's really crucial to use active listening while we're listening to customers. Let's take a look at what that exactly means. Active listening, it's really requires focus and presence. And I don't know about you, but for me, it takes a lot of energy to really be in the moment and just make sure you're present. In our world right now, there's so many distractions. When we use active listening, we prevent misunderstandings. So what do we think active listening is?
How is active listening different from just listening? Imagine if it were your 80 years old mom calling, or your teenager, or your single parent bestie. Okay. Open-ended questions, listening to hear and understand, being present, listening to understand. Everybody needs to be heard, receive, you're engaged. So yeah, we need to show that we are there. We need to be there, present in our minds. So active listening, the active part is that I'm not just taking it. I'm not just being silent in that situation. I actually participate in that conversation, right? Active listening has a goal of connecting and understanding. Being present, listening without judgment, that's the hardest part of all. And also because our brain is going faster than the words that we are hearing. So there's a gap between the speed of the other person talking and between my thoughts racing. And I have to calm my mind with that. Yes.
It's in the moment, paying attention, right? And just trying not to judge and really reflecting and clarifying.
Clarify, acknowledge emotions. Yes. Being present. Yeah. So
we can do this quickly. Yeah. And paying attention to nonverbal, right, Agnes?
Yes.
Paying attention.
Yeah. No, it used to be that, when they were teaching you to do active listening, they would actually, you would get instructions like eye contact and nodding and all of those different little gestures, movements, whatever. Well, these days it's a lot of it is over the phone. A lot of it is just virtual, but still you would get instructions. And my recommendation is just decide to be curious. It doesn't matter if it's in person or over the phone or whatever. If you decide to be curious, then your body will obey and it will show that curiosity. You don't actually have to adjust your facial expressions or anything else. It will happen naturally. And then you're not pretending to listen, you're actually there.
There's some reflective statements that we can say, maybe some phrases. I know this hasn't been easy. I understand why you feel this way. Maybe it sounds like you're feeling. I mean, you can have maybe some phrases that you have go-to phrases or that maybe that have worked for you in the past that you refer to. Appreciate you bringing this to our attention. I'm glad you reached out so we can work on this.
When people are anxious, people like to hear their own words back. That's one of the ways to start de-escalating them. If I hear my own words repeated back to me, then I know that you actually paid attention. So it has a calming effect. Not interrupting, that's very important. And it's not always very easy, especially in a customer service role, when you've been hearing the same exact complaint, sounds like the same story that you've heard gazillion times that day. We have the tendency, oh yeah, I know all about it. But for that person, it's their unique situation. So it's for them, it's not the gazillionth time. So we have to be respectful of that.
I think that's a great point, Agnes, because we may think, oh, I helped this person before with the same situation, but this situation is going to be completely different because it's a completely different person.
Yeah.
So in the chat, go ahead and type, what would active listening look like in a call to you? And this is a new person.
When you're over the phone. Robert says some of us are problem solvers, so we immediately go into that mode, fixing mode. Yes, I have to remind myself to listen first. Thank you for making that comment.
Yeah. It's a great comment.
Yeah, paraphrasing once the customer is done speaking. Verbal cues are important. Yeah. Same things every day. We probably only have to deal with this. They only have to deal with this a few times in their lifetime. So we need to remember that. Natural, not scripted or sanitized. Yeah. Sounds frustrating being transferred twice. Can you help me understand how I can support you? Yeah, that's
great.
Cool. Yeah.
What might be some barriers to active listening? Making assumptions like you're saying, Agnes, the same person calls or it's a new person. Yes, we're going to talk the triggers, knowing your triggers, right?
Yes. Being expected to multitask. Yeah, that's a huge one. And by the way, multitasking is a myth. Nobody can multitask. You can just switch fast in between tasks.
And
others say, if you're talking, you're not listening. Yeah.
And maybe you're in a role in the customer contact center and you have so many calls that you're supposed to get to, in the day. So that could be a barrier.
Oh, good stuff here. Am I in hot? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. That's a great little combination right there.
Yeah, it's good to be self-aware.
Trying to be helpful by pulling their account to better understand their story, why trying to listen directly. Yeah. So it's two things at the same time.
What may it be like when you're in a situation where you have to escalate? This person is really loud, raising their voice. What are some things that you can do? And Agnes teaches a great class on de-escalation. And she has some great points. She has an acronym she calls CARE. You want to talk about that a little bit, Agnes?
Sure. So CARE is a four-word acronym or four-phrase acronym, basically. And it all starts with me staying calm. So if you look at the slide, it's in the middle. If I'm escalated, there's very little chance that I can de-escalate anybody else, right? So I need to keep myself calm. There are certain things that I can focus on. And once again, curiosity helps a great deal, because if I'm curious, I'm engaging my brain, I'm engaging my cortex. It doesn't let me go haywire. Uh, and then CARE stands for connect, acknowledge, resolve, and ensure safety, just like Cindy put in the chat. So connect is the reflection part, repeating back what I just heard. Acknowledge is when I focus on trying to seeing things from their angle, identify, empathize with the emotion they are feeling. I can see how this must be really frustrating. Resolve is when I'm offering solutions, not just throwing a solution at them, but preferably if there are options, it's always better for people to choose from a solution, because that gives some of the control back over the situation to them, so they feel a little more empowered. That's also a calming effect. And then ensure safety. It's my physical safety, my emotional safety, and theirs. So we always have to be mindful of that. What do I mean by that? Physical safety. There are rules with every agency about how you keep your body safe. Emotional safety. Nowhere in your any kind of position descriptions would say that you have to tolerate abuse. So there should be a line in the sand, and there should be some barriers there. And their emotional safety is also, we don't go for humiliating a person when they are in the wrong and we are in the right. If we are there, we are not winning. So this is not about who wins and who loses. This is about resolving a situation together. So we also recommend the golden questions, which comes from mediation training. What is your greatest concern? What would you like to see happen? What do you want me to understand? And then all of those things that Will is listing: calm voice, slow talk. Yeah, slow down. Don't raise your voice. Try to take up a non-threatening position. Try to not make yourself look bigger, puff up your chest and all that. Breathe. That breathing is the most important thing there, because you have to exhale. Usually when we are escalated, we are holding our breath, and that's not helpful. So exhale so that you can inhale.
Exactly. So, in your role, what does empathy look like on a hard day? I think for me, it's, with working and coming home from work and being tired, and my husband wanting to sit down with me and just talk to me and want me to listen and not solve. That's sometimes a challenge, but I think by doing that, he's actually in culinary school and he comes home and he's got a lot to navigate with learning because he's older student. So I just have to listen, and I think it's helped listening, and it's helped to build a better relationship with him because I'm understanding what he's going through better. So I'd love to see what others think and feel about what it looks like on a hard day.
While people are typing, let me share my little story. So it was one of those situations when you walk through the door and the kids are attacking, right? Because they want to share what happened to them that day. And I actually made a verbal contract with my son that if you give me 15 minutes to calm down, wash my hands, get a glass of water, whatever, change my clothes, I will be the best mom ever, and I will pay attention. If you attack me as I walk through the door, I will pretend that I'm listening. That's not going to be good. And past 10 years old, you can actually have those agreements. Below that, probably not going to work. So what does it look like for you on a hard day?
Yeah, I'd love to see some comments in the chat.
Giving myself permission to take a break. Yeah, absolutely. You're a human, right? So you also, you're allowed to have emotions. You're allowed to have frustrations. Same here. Yeah, working from home. Yes,
Managing my state.
managing my state. Yeah,
Giving
yeah.
yourself permission to take a break.
Take a break. Yeah, and also not jumping in with the fixes. That's usually what we do with our families. We instantly go to fixing mode even without trying to listen first.
Okay.
Short walk
So
outside. Yeah, that's also great. Get away, breathe. Any kind of movement will have a calming effect. That's why people are pacing sometimes.
well, this has been a lot of information and great discussion. So just kind of in summary, some takeaways of that empathy builds trust and sympathy does not. It drives disconnection. Active listening reduces conflict, and these small changes can really make a difference with our customers. And just a summary also with de-escalating, the acronym that Agnes talked about: care, connect, acknowledge, resolve, and ensure safety. So with that, I think we're at the end of the presentation, and we're going to open it back up for discussion. And thank you for your patience with the technology changes. And it's really great to see everybody. And I hope you enjoyed this and got something out of this.
Thank you so much, Cindy and Agnes. That was great. And we had a lot of good engagement in the chat. And I'm wondering if anyone wants to come off mute and just kind of share, was there a moment during this presentation that truly resonated with you? And if so, would you like to share a moment that resonated and why? I like the breakdown of the difference between empathy and sympathy. Also curious, just a quick check. Maybe you could do like thumbs up or a heart. How many folks in the room do we have that are in somewhat of a leadership position? Oh, a lot of you. Very good. So I know one thing that we talk about here at our agency, as we're doing all this customer experience work with other agencies, I've heard Jesse talk about it in several interviews, is it's really important to practice and exercise these mindsets, these behaviors with your team and not just your customer. And we might have mentioned this in our last COP as well, but it's so important to practice that empathy with the people that you lead or the people that you work alongside of. And the same way you want that practice to your customer, to practice it with the people on the team, because you can totally take that energy if you feel like you're going through something and not being supported in the right way on your team, maybe from your supervisor, and that can subconsciously go into your interactions when you're dealing with customers. So it's really important that as leadership that you know, you practice that with your people. So that way they're going into their interactions um, with that thoughtful, present, caring mentality. And so I'm just curious, maybe as leaders, have you noticed a difference? Maybe before you might not have been so mindful of that, and then maybe you started implementing that in your leadership style. I'm curious if anybody has gone through that, if anybody has anybody noticed a difference when actually practicing these mindful behaviors. I know I did when I was in that position, so I'm curious to hear from anyone else. And feel free to come off mute if you'd like. And somebody did type yes, trust built. Your team is your customer, 100%.
I really like Patty's comment about, being a problem solver. I think especially all of us in the room as, continuous improvement specialists, we are natural problem solvers. So, you know, being a natural problem solvers, and that relaying that like that's the way that we show care and help and show up for people, but recognizing that we need to take a step back for a minute and just listen. Sometimes people want advice, sometimes people just need a helpful ear, or just a listening heart, so that's such a great reminder.
Can I just say amen, sister? Because
Mhm.
um, to what
Me
you just
too.
right to what you just said, and then to what I was talking about as leadership. I go back and I think one of the last teams I supervised, they did have somebody that always wanted to call and vent, and it got to a point to where I wanted to be really what they needed me to be in that moment, and so that I would ask, okay, real fast, before we go further, is this something you would like me to help you solve? Or something you would like my support on doing to make the situation easier, or are you just kind of wanting a little vent moment? And that really helped going forward. They appreciated it and they were like, oh, yeah, no, I just have to blow off some steam. Or I want to blow off some steam and I would like it if you can do a little bit of A, B, and C. That helped because my mind was always going to problem solving, always. And I didn't realize that that could be frustrating for them. So, yeah, very good.
I agree, Taya. I have that same challenge with my spouse.
Yeah.
They just want me to listen, and I just want to solve it.
hmm Yep. Yeah, oh, yeah, this isn't just at the workplace. Like these are our personalities, right? Okay.
Just an FYI, Cindy and Agnes, we got a question in the chat if y'all are available to do these presentations at other agencies because they are finding this very valuable and beneficial to their peeps.
Love that.
Well, that's awesome. We'll have to talk, Agnes.
Yeah, that can be arranged, just needs a little bit of
Yes.
coordination. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yes,
thank
this is
you,
a great
Cindy.
topic.
Thank you for volunteering for this. Also for the folks that was it our December or November meeting? We had a meeting where we did a mural board and we showed everyone the topics that we were doing this year
Hmm.
and for this
Hmm.
topic, Cindy did volunteer. So I thank you so much for stepping out. I don't know if this is your comfort zone or not. You certainly seem comfortable presenting on this. So just thank you for, being the one to say, hey, I got this topic. This is so helpful
Yes,
and
and
we appreciate you.
absolutely love the topic and would love to have further conversation. But if somebody wants to hear from Agnes and I again, that sounds great.
Awesome. I say ask your spouses and team member and so on if you want to be their moon, wolves howling to the moon to say something without getting an answer. I
Oh, I
haven't heard it
love
put that way.
that.
It's a real pretty visual.
Heck yeah. Ooh, Jennifer mentioned this. A lot of people were talking about the four components of active listening. Yes, Alicia, absolutely. And gosh, I lost it. Jennifer was talking about practicing good self-care to be able to provide good empathy to our customers. It's like we got to fill up our cups right before we can even pour into anyone else's. And I love this as a good reminder because it's really easy to, you know, give advice and share, what you can do, but it's a lot easier or a lot harder for us to take our own advice, right? It's like, oh, go for a walk and clear your mind, but we don't ever take that advice ourselves. So making sure that, we're giving the same advice to ourselves that we give to others.
Oh, that's so good. Got to put
Definitely
the
going for a
oxygen
walk
mask on
after this.
yourself.
I was just going to say that. It's like putting on the
Oh,
oxygen
yes,
mask
yes.
first before you
Yep.
help anybody else.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Would you say, Agnes? Sorry, did you say something?
I, I was just saying I'm definitely going for a walk after this meeting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you and me both. It's icy out there though. I'm curious, does anybody does anybody in the room have an experience you want to share about a time where you were, you know, really understood in how that felt or misunderstood in how that felt? Like what made the difference? I'm just curious if there's any examples that anyone has that might highlight maybe something that wasn't touched on today or what really stood out to you about either being heard or misunderstood. And you can come off mute. This is a conversation for us all.
Yeah, I'll be brave here and come off mute.
Heck yeah. Hi.
Yeah, so I like what you said earlier, Talia, that you got to figure out, you got to take an inventory of what their needs are.
Mhm.
And because there's sometimes where people they'll be describing a situation they're unhappy about, and they're low key wrong. And I'm like, do I tell them? Am I a bad friend, or should I let them know? Or like, how do you even go about that? And so, how do I keep my own integrity as a good person that says honest things to others, while also being there for them and showing compassion and empathy on that level? So like, just figuring out like, I'm here if you just want to vent, but if you honestly want to know if you're right or wrong, then I'll like tell you.
Oh, do you know how deep that is? I love that. Because I'm one of those people that wants a person to tell me and call me out if I'm wrong, right? I just, I don't want you to just like people please and like stroke me and make me feel good. But determining whether or not other people want that, it's not always that easy. So I'm glad you touched on that because that is really true. The whole what if, if you don't say anything, are they going to keep getting in these situations and keep getting
Yeah.
frustrated?
Chief enabler, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's huge. Thank you for sharing.
I'll go ahead and come off mute and I have a very personal one.
Yeah.
So, um, my husband and I, after we'd been married for 10 years or so, kind of started to make assumptions that we understood what the other person was saying.
Mm,
And so we didn't listen long enough to hear what they were really saying, which typically was what we thought, but we were cutting each other off before we could finish our thought.
mm.
So, just because you have a long-term understanding relationship with somebody doesn't mean you can't fall into that cliff.
Oh, that's so good. Even more so, right? That interruption thing is a beast. It's hard to not do that.
Yes, it
Especially
is.
when someone says something and you feel like it mischaracterizes you or mischaracterizes
Mm,
the situation. You're like, oh, no, no. Let me correct that right now. Thank you for that.
mm.
Um, thumbs up or a heart. How many people have heard of the five love languages? Yeah, a lot of people. I don't know why. I just thought about that concept in that book. So for anyone that hasn't heard of it, there's a book called Five Love Languages, and what are they like? Acts of service, physical touch,
Words
gifts,
of affirmation.
gift giving, words of affirmation, and quality time. So those are the five things. And those books are used a lot to really learn, number one, what your love language is. Which one of those five things do you really appreciate and need to feel loved? And also, what is what is the person's love language that you might be, communicating with? And I think it's so important, and it kind of can tie into this, especially some of the examples that folks were just talking about, because oftentimes we tend to give other people what we find valuable. And that doesn't always work because I might find, you know, um, I might find quality time and physical touch valuable, whereas the person I'm talking to is really all about words of affirmation. And if I'm not a person that really needs words of affirmation, it's not on top of my mind to think to give that. And so those things could be something maybe to dive into, as well as learning your communication style, what really hits deep with you, what makes you feel heard, what makes you feel seen, learning other people's communication style, what makes them feel heard, what makes them feel seen, and just remember when you're in that moment that the goal isn't necessarily, especially when someone else needs you, isn't necessarily to express you upon that person, but to dive into their world and speak their language. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Talia. One of the biggest things I have learned in my life is that I may have like my certain love language or, things that really make me feel loved, but it might differ from someone else's. But just because someone is showing me love in how they know to express it doesn't mean that I'm not receiving love. It just might not be how, my preference, but it's still love in the same. So that's where it really is about like getting to know and truly understand people and what they need.
Absolutely. And we're saying a lot of the love word, but in the space of work, we've done all kinds of and I say we, I'm thinking of other agencies and our agency. So if you haven't done this, it might be something to look into. But those what is it? I always say these wrong. Myers Briggs assessment. Um, and like DISC personality assessments and all those different assessments where you can do and see, okay, this is where I fit, this is where I land. I'm a people person, I'm not a people person, I'm more on this side. And then you learn what your team is and how, how they think, what's helpful for them, what's not. And then when you start to like kind of map out those profiles of everyone, it kind of helps to bear in mind
Mhm.
um, communication styles and how that plays into all of this.
And we actually use the DISC model at DOL, and I'm actually a certified practitioner, and we use that tool for lots of different teams to improve team building. It's been very successful. And we actually see it related to employee engagement scores, that the employee engagement scores are better with the people that have learned, and they learn the different styles on their team and how to pivot and understand each other, and it improves communication. There are a lot of benefits.
hmm Yeah, I did disc a long time ago, but I was blown away when I first did it. I loved it. There's a question in the chat. Do you provide this presentation to staff who are in enforcement roles? Um, B, do you want to say more about that? Are you asking Cindy and Agnes?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, um, great presentation. It kept me at the edge of my seat the whole time. Well done. Um, and I was thinking in my organization, of course, customer service, of course, those that are in, answering phones or whatnot. But what about those that go out in the field and those that are with enforcement roles? One of the things that I felt was what you were talking, I just kept thinking about them, the importance of empathy. And so just if you present this, do you present it the same way or do you not present it? Just I was wondering what your thoughts are around this area in folks that are in an enforcement capacity, right? Because our customers don't get a choice. It's not like you can go from this company to this company. It's us. And so this is why it's so important to provide good service regardless of what phase of the organization you are going to be having that experience with. Thanks.
Yeah, let me jump in here. So we are not presenting this so Cindy put this together for this meeting, this purpose. But what we are doing, we started doing, we are still piloting that is we are required by union contract to offer de-escalation training to our frontline employees. And yes, there are several different divisions within DOL that have auditors, investigators in all of those roles. So it's not fully enforcement, but as close as we can get there. And so we are actually teaching them that four-step model, the care, stay calm and care model, which is closely related to showing empathy. And when somebody joins the Department of Licensing, their first online class is what we call Welcome to DOL. And the second day of that class, it's kind of an orientation, introduction, all of that. And we are also teaching basic customer service skills that are, once again, tied back to empathy. So every single DOL employee has basic training on this. And then those who are in the frontline role have to know about de-escalating situations, have to know more about how to communicate in these situations. We are receiving additional training. At this moment, this de-escalation training is a one-day in-person class. In the future, it's probably going to also go online. And so far, we are getting great feedback on this topic and on these classes.
Real fast, I see your hand, Kelly. Just real fast, I wanted to point out that Rebecca said, as someone in compliance, I feel we're constantly told to give empathy, but often do not get it in return. And
That's the beauty of that job. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's a very real thing. And so, B, to your question, we are recording this as a reminder. You can always share this link with folks that you feel might benefit from it. And then throughout the rest of the year, we're focusing on the customer experience. So whereas our next few titles may not be empathy specifically and only, we are touching on, human-centered design in customer experience. And so in human-centered design, it is just ingrained in that whole mentality and mindset to consider their experience, which means this is going to come up again. So I would encourage you to not only share the link from today's session, but also to have folks register for future meetings. Kelly, did you still want to say something?
Oh, thank you for the invitation. I've been chewing on this and hesitating whether to pop in, but here I am. Yeah, so connected to something that I think Agnes said earlier about connecting to individuals when expressing empathy, and that you can't share empathy if you're really angry, right? You got to be in check with what's going on with you. I have found that one of the things that helps me with that is if I can articulate my intent. When I'm starting to engage with someone that might be escalated, if I can say, my intent here is to help you. I can't be angry uttering those words, because if I were, it wouldn't come out right. And so making what is covert, what's inside of you, what's not seen, known and heard can be really, really super helpful. Mm-hmm. Kind of an insider tip, particularly for those of us that have this perpetual frown line. When we're thinking, if we say, my intent is, it naturally softens us. Mm. And it decreases the likelihood that the person that you're communicating with is going to make an assumption that doesn't align with your intent. And it can be so helpful.
So vulnerability piece, Kelly?
Yeah.
Is it like that vulnerability piece?
Yeah, I mean, it can be really vulnerable to let someone know what's going on inside here, right? Mm-hmm. But you can also couch it with language that helps with the vulnerability. The other end of that is you can ask what your impact was. So I just said X, Y, and Z. How did that land on you? What are you thinking about that? Right? That invites dialogue and exchange. again, that can bring down the escalation too. So
That's
thanks for letting
awesome.
me pop in, y'all.
Oh, thank you. We love it. That's great. Definitely communicate your intent. Thank you. Almost done with creating the class SharePoint page. Oh, cool, Agnes. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in that. Oh, Teresa, anything you want to share? That was such a good session.
I know it was a great session. No, I just appreciate all the helpful tips and tricks for me. I think we kind of talked about it a little bit last month, but I think one of the biggest things that I struggle with is just really remembering to practice how I can actively listen. I think my brain often goes, left, right, up, down, every which direction. So I just appreciate just the constant reminders and the constant tips on how we can slow down and actually listen in order to really understand. Um, being able to understand before we want to be understood, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, listen
yeah,
to understand, not to
yeah,
respond.
right, absolutely.
Yeah, love it. Okay, well, we are almost at time. So, thank you again to our wonderful presenters, Cindy and Agnes. This has been so helpful. I hope you all just feel the love from the community, all the engagement you all allowed for today. Again, the great tangible tools you've given us to walk away with. The fact that people want your presentation more—that's a huge, great compliment to the content you've brought us.
Yes.
And you're just kind nature in bringing that. We just thank you and appreciate you. And yeah, with that, we have 3 minutes left. So if nobody has anything else, we can give you those few minutes back in your day. Um, and what's our next one, Teresa? I'm blanking. Our next. Let me look it up. Oh, hello, journey mapping part
Jared.
two.
Oh, part two. We'll have Darlene back. So remember, we'll be here every other month now, starting in 2026. So not next month, but we'll be back in March every odd month.
Third Tuesday of the month. Same
Yep.
deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you liked and you appreciated that presentation in October, the part one journey mapping, where she kind of went over what they do over at her agency, she's now going to dive into even more details on the how-tos and what this looks like in action. And so I know a bunch of folks were getting excited for that. And if you missed the first one in October, that's okay. Still come in March. It's going to be very helpful. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we hope to see you all there. And thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday.
Bye, y'all. Have a great day. Thank you, Cindy.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. First.